The tutorial you're now watching has been part of a mega tutorial. In case you hear any reference to that, this is why. But now, without further ado, let's get going with this tutorial. Right, next up in our tutorial is going to be the landscaping. Now, this is a very important bit because as of now, everything looks very flat, you know, not really interesting. And in order to make it interesting, we are going to make a little hill over here for our coaster. We make a little dip, so to say, a lowered area for the track ride we're going to put here later on. And we're going to make a little harsh hill to decide where the slide is going to come from. Now, in order to make landscaping, you can either go down here to the terrain menu or just double click on the ground, which is like deadly simple. And well, they're just like the typical kind of tools you can imagine. We've got pull, and unfortunately the keys on your keyboard, the old short keys don't work anymore, so you really have to go in here and switch with the alt key between the different things, as you can see over here. But if I go to pull, I can still increase the size and the intensity, obviously. And now I'm gonna go for the biggest and the highest intensity, and so you will see we are just raising the area for the coaster. Now, as I said, I want to have this a bit more interesting looking. So what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of do a little hill here. If you want to get a bit more structure in, a good tip, as always, is first of all, let's kind of smooth it out first of all a little. So the smooth tool, as you can see over here to the left hand side, smooth basically levels out the harsh edges of what you've just built. As you can see, this easily works like this, you know. And just for making all the tools work, the push tool pushes inwards, as you can imagine. Smoothing that out again will... Oop, there was my hard drive full again. Damn, all these videos. Now, it levels kind of out what you do down here when you pull it down. And there are a couple of other tools I'm going to quickly show you. So the roughen tool gives you a bit of the same thing I did here, just automatically. But I feel it's a little bit too aggressive. As you can see, it kind of roughens your mountain. So if you are going to lower down the intensity and you're just using that carefully, as you can see over here, you can really give the whole mountain a nice realistic shape. So it gives you a bit of a speedy option, you know. Everything in this game is a lot more now opted for making speedy appearance to stuff, you know, being very much more quicker, which makes sense with a console game in mind. This way you can roughen this mountain out relatively quickly. And if you want to do some precise work, you can either go for the flatten to foundation. So let's say you want to have like, let's say we want to have like a launch or something very straight here. We can just flatten a terrace out like this over here. So this is perfectly flat now. In case you want to put something on this, we do have like this perfectly flat ground over here, which I think I want to keep because this might be a good station to put on and then just build the coaster from here. And then you also have the flatten to surface. This works a little bit more different. So if you want to have like a ramp, let's say, you can find a spot where you like this, and then you can just kind of align this here, as you can see, and then drag it all down, and it just kind of creates a ramp on exactly this way. By the way, I haven't talked about this yet. By pressing Control Z and Control Y, you do the redo and undo. You can also use them down here in the menu, by the way. As you can see, it also tells you the hotkey. By the way, this is a kind of cool feature that the hotkeys are immediately next to it, which is a bit odd that not everything has a hotkey, but you know, at least it works. So this way, you have a very nice little area here. In order to go further, we're gonna lower this area real quick down. So just a little tip over here while we go higher intensity, not that much. We lower this down a little, just like, well, this might be fine. And then we're gonna flatten this mostly to the foundation, because I want to have like a very nice area down here, which hopefully looks nice, like this. And then you've got two methods to kind of smooth out the edges. Either you go obviously with the smooth tool, make it bigger, and then just kind of level that out. But this can actually be tedious if you don't want to. You can also just kind of flatten to the surface and then just kind of create a bit of a nicer area like this, and then you smooth this out. Mostly that gives you some nicer results in some more varying things. But you can also use, this is where I like the roughen tool to use for, and go very, very low with the intensity, and then you can just roughen the edges a little bit, so it doesn't seem like a, you know, a way to kind of natural, like non-natural, like man-made crater, I should say. It still looks like a little bit of a crater, and if you want to do it a bit different, you go to flatten to foundation, lower the size. You can also go and lower the hardness now, which is a new feature. So the hardness will also, it almost is like, in case you know Photoshop, there's also the mode for hardness, and it kind of smooths out the mouse movement. So it's not all so super hard. You can really nicely now pull things together. As you may have seen, we spared out one function over here, the chisel function, which I'm gonna show you in a second, while I'm just going to click a couple things here. You can see nicely done. It gives the whole area already so much more character if you look at that. So that's pretty damn cool. And now what we're going to do, we're going to make a very harsh mountain over here. So therefore, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this up very straight like this. And then what I'm doing is, now this is very tall, and what I'm doing from over here is I'm going to reduce the size very low. Let's start with 6, and then we go and reduce this to 90 is okay. And then you just drag it down and you create these almost like, I want to say roots, but it's almost like futures or eruption lines. I'm not even sure how you would call them, but I really like to do this to give the mountain a certain shape, a certain character. And you gotta be a bit careful. Sometimes your cursor will just kind of eventually go away and just roughen around the area too. As you can see here, it just kind of snapped away when you press for too long. But I still like the way how this kind of creates these areas. So once you've done this, you can then, if you say like that is looking way too round to the top, you can use the chisel tool. And now what you can do with this is basically like if you work with clay and you have like a very sharp chisel, basically, you can just push that one to create, you know, certain edges like here. So you use that for like, for example, like this, or just kind of shape something in here if you want to kind of get an edge in and then just chisel that out. So you can really work like with clay with it, just form the things to your liking. And again, all the different settings apply to you as well. There's also a scenery lock. I don't need to show this to you because it's basically self-explanatory. When you've got scenery around, basically what it does is that the whole landscaping doesn't function around scenery. Now, one last thing I wanted to show you, and I debated with myself if I wanted to do this in the past tutorial or in this one, but however, I'm going to do this in this tutorial because I feel like it's almost the better variant to do. Now, wouldn't it be nice to have already like a path axis that goes all the way up here, but we want to have like some very cool like you know, terrain around this. So therefore I'm gonna basically build a queue, and we're gonna start the queue up here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring the queue up to this point, and now what we want to do, we want to bring the queue all the way down in a very nice manner, and then down here it shall be going to the ground. So this is where we go, and we reach the ground, as you can see. But I don't want to have this, you know, I don't want to have this. I want to have this flat on the ground, almost like seemingly flat on the ground. So what I can do is I can use my push tool, and I'm gonna lower the intensity but increase the size, and now I can just easily push it towards our path, as you can see. So you just work your way up here. There you can see the game finally doesn't feel like this is bad anymore. So we have that this way, and in order to just make that nice, you can just go use the smooth tool, raise the intensity to the highest, and then just smooth everything around the path like out. And here we go. We have like a perfectly flat path on the terrain, like as if nothing has ever happened. It is so freaking easy. And the same goes over here, and then we're just gonna smooth that out real quick. You know, sometimes you have these little edges if you want to, but then you can also reduce the intensity to the very lowest, or like it's not even the lowest, but as you can see, it's like super low now. And then you can be very precise even in adjusting that to the path. And easily, you've just done that. I mean, how cool is this place? That is just amazing to see how easy this works now. I need to have a little sip of my tea, by the way. Talking for so long is kind of making the voice go away. And you know, these tutorials are really meant to follow along nicely. They are not too fast cut. I will eventually make some very short tutorials for like the TikTok audience in the world. But there's one last thing I want to do about the terrain, and this is water. Because obviously it's not only about making mountains, we can also make lakes. And real quick, this is just like super easy to understand. I'm just gonna increase this over here. We're going to turn this area here into a little lake. I'm just gonna lower this down, use this foundation, like flatten to foundation tool again. Sometimes what you can do is, if you go for a higher size, go for an intensity somewhere between 40 and 70. I like to have it somewhere in the 60s. And then you can just quickly click and drag it out, but release the mouse button real quick again. And then you already create these lovely edges from like how you would have them in a lake. So if you press too hard, it's gonna work like this. You know, you don't want that. If you just click press, you can see how I'm just dragging the terrain away. And the good thing about this is it creates these natural borders, because how the water works is we go into the water tab, and the water works by searching for the line outside here. So it is the same as in both previous Planet games. However, as in Planet Coaster 1, you could still edit some stuff around. Now it is also blocked just as in Planet Zoo, so you can't edit the water anymore as soon as it's in. I'm just gonna click this in real quick. We cannot edit the terrain around anymore. So in case you wanted to push something in, this happens over here just as in Planet Zoo. So in Planet Coaster you could still edit this. So you have to make the shape work before you're done. The color this time around is very nice. The deeper you go, it becomes darker, but still you have some light casting through. Again, we have 3 different variants. We've got the clear water, we've got the rough water, which I'm gonna quickly put in. This looks a lot more like tropical sea over here. And then we also have the it's called natural water. I would call it dirty water. It's a little bit of an odd one. You can't click on it and change the color as in Zoo. Really hope they bring that in later on. That would be lovely. But as for now, I'm gonna go with the rough water because I just like the, yeah, I like the color of it the most, to be honest. It just, I don't know, it fits this area nicely, I think. All right, let's just actually quickly, no, let's change this back to the clear water because, yeah, I don't want to have like this rough water over here. And last but not least, obviously what we need to have is like a little kind of pool area around here, or like a beach area, as this would fit to our overall swimming pool style. You can, as always, change the terrain paint. So basically just paint around here and you're gonna get yourself a beach. Now, what is really cool in this game is we have almost double the amount, or we do have double the amount of textures, which is kind of cool. We have, as you can see, 6 by 6 over here, 12 plus 3 more, which is super great to have. And you can also just change easily between them. Now, if you lower down the intensity, and you can just see how nicely it blends. So if you want to have like very full sand over here, as I want to, you just paint that very heavily. But if you want to see, okay, this is now going to go into patchy grass, you can just do it like this. Or if this is too harsh for you, you just lower down the size, you lower down the hardness, and you lower down the intensity a lot more. And now you can see you can have much more control over the blend of the textures. And I personally found this to be one of the best new additions to the game. Specifically in Planet Zoo, it was already a step ahead, like really good. But now in Planet Coaster 2, the merge of the textures, look at that. It just you can create so nice looking areas that you didn't have before by just mixing together a bunch of textures and then just having, we should even go lower with the intensity here. And then you can see how this creates like a very natural environment here that you can mix together, like put a bit of soil in and then just plant some plants around here. Look at that. It's just, you can do so much with it. I really like that. You could like put a swamp over here. But yeah, that looks fantastic, doesn't it? I really love how this all works, and I really would love to also, that is the one I wanted to go, make this beach over here a lot more hard, you know, just make sure that we have this all covered in beach look. This is like the only proper beach we have. We can even style that after a beach later on. And then have a bit of soil merge here as well, emerge from maybe this area where you can have some more soil in, just like almost into there where we will have the coaster go. And then this is pretty nice, and you could have like a bit of pebbles here very close to the pathway would make sense. So just like that. And if we go a little closer now, you can see this is very nice. If a couple of pebbles go in here, Yeah, that looks fantastic. And the beach itself doesn't look too good because, you know, it's all very much too flat. You would need to go in, and also a little trick, you know, as we are in a tutorial here, you have the trick. Go very low on the size, like maybe 4 or 3, and then also go low on the intensity, to be honest. And then you can just, whoops, I need to go, oh, wait, this is a feature I forgot almost to say. There are, the painting tools can either auto paint or use selected or the sampled. Now, when you go sampled, it'll always use the one you're clicking on and dragging from. When you go to auto paint, it will auto paint from the map's default. So as you can see on the sides over here in the back, there is going to be rock, and on the straight there will be this kind of grass, and then underwater you will have certain things. But if you go to use selected, it'll use the one that you have selected in here. So in my case, I'm going to put on sand now, and then it'll basically keep this texture to sand. But what I'm doing over here, and you'll see that in a second, I hope that's visible, but you can really nicely do this way. And now let's see if we can spot this. Yeah, I just ever so slightly created a little bit of difference over here. Let's kind of adjust the light real quick so you guys can see this better. There you, oh my god, that's much more visible. Look at that. This is how it looks now. The beach looks a lot more realistic before, and sometimes it can really help to use the different sun conditions to see something. As you can see, this is how it looked before, and now I'm just gonna redo it, and you can see this gives the whole beach a lot more realism, a lot more depth, and just makes sense that, you know, you have a bit of a nicer view to it. Again, sometimes changing light conditions will do the trick. And yeah, maybe we stick to, again, 1 PM. Now, this has been it about the terraforming. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. So thanks for watching this tutorial. If you need more tutorials, check out the mega tutorial or the individual ones I've also uploaded. In any case, if that was helpful, please consider subscribing to support the channel, and I wish you a wonderful day up until the next one. Bye!